Switzerland is a landlocked European country bordering Germany, Austria, Liechtenstein, Italy, and France. The Alps occupy a large part of the country's territory, giving it a unique appearance, and the country's population is about 8.5 million people. Many different peoples live here, speaking German, French, Italian, and Romansh, and in the different regions of the country, also called cantons, you will meet people of different ethnic groups speaking different languages, but in general, almost everywhere, German will be useful to you. If you don't speak these languages, don't worry, everyone here speaks very good English. Switzerland is not a member of the European Union. The state policy of this country, for centuries, has tried to be as neutral as possible, not liking to participate in such formations. Switzerland's neutrality, according to most people, is also the key to the prosperity of its people. The country has not been involved in war and hostilities since 1815, which is extremely impressive against the background of the many wars that marked the beginning and middle of the 20th century. Today, most big businessmen choose to keep their money in Swiss banks because of the high degree of security in the country. The country has a very high standard of living, and the local currency, which is called the Swiss franc, is one of the strongest and most stable currencies in the world. For most of the last century, the country most regularly topped the ranking for the richest country in Europe. If you live and work here, you can be sure that you will be able to afford absolutely anything you want. The economy of the country is comprehensively developed, and watches and Swiss cheese as well as Swiss chocolate are the things for which the country has become famous all over the world. Agriculture is also an important part of the economy, as is tourism. There is probably not a person among you who does not dream of visiting the vast Swiss Alps, right? Share in the comments, have you been there or want to visit these places someday? Switzerland can easily be called the most democratic country in the world. Her laws are written solely for the benefit of her inhabitants, and any person who thinks that any of the laws of his country are injurious can file a complaint and compel the legislature to find an alternative to the problem. And when new laws are passed and regulations, the government always consults the people through a referendum. Also, the country has one of the best education systems, and a teacher earns over $120,000 a year, which is great pay considering the country's standard. Other well-paid professions are judge, lawyer, doctor, software engineer, IT specialist. In general, the professions requiring a higher degree of education are very well paid. Crime rates are extremely low. In recent years, there has been a small increase in criminal acts, but according to statistics, such acts are the work of foreigners who have come here to work. There is compulsory military service in the country, and also a very interesting fact that there are over 4 million registered guns in the country. However, rest assured that if you live here you are in a safe place. Bunkers have been built in Swiss cities in case of nuclear wars, and the roads have been laid out in such a way that they can be used as airstrips if needed. Multilingualism has placed certain barriers between different communities in the country. According to the data, most German speakers visit only once a year the places where French or Italian is spoken, and 15% of them have never visited the canton speaking another language. The Swiss can be said to be smiling and cultured people who will never fail to greet you, even if you are a stranger. The mentality of people here is very similar to most Western European countries, as uninvited guests are usually not accepted, meetings are arranged in advance, and it is important to be there on time, and family ties are not very strong, as in Italy for example. You will also be impressed by the discipline of the Swiss, as well as the beautiful Swiss streets, which are clean and orderly, as in fairy tales. Sports are also very important to people here, and regardless of the season, most Swiss exercise regularly. As well as placing great importance on human rights, the Swiss authorities care just as much about animals. In 2018, the country held a referendum where people voted on whether cattle owners could dehorn their animals, with 56% voting yes. Also, if you want to have a pet, you have to go through training to know how to properly care for it, and if someone intentionally hurts an animal, they face a hefty fine and even up to 3 years in prison for more serious cases. If you want to watch fish or birds, you need to buy 2 copies. In Switzerland, unlike many European countries, euthanasia or assisted suicide is allowed. Many French, Germans, and Italians choose to end their lives here, due to advanced age or terminal illnesses. Euthanasia takes place in special clinics, deliberately built in peaceful places in nature where the person decided to end his life and spend his last days. Often people with life problems and mental disorders show a desire for assisted suicide, but if you are not very old or terminally ill, euthanasia will be refused. The last day of the person who decided to end his life is spent among specially trained doctors and psychologists who try to explain the consequences of their decision. Each person himself decides the day and time of his death, and before that he is served his favorite food in the presence of his closest people, after which he is injected with the lethal medicine that takes his life. The cost of euthanasia is between 5,000 and 8,000 euros. There are also those who change their mind at the last minute. A 68-year-old man from Naples, for example, goes to die in the clinic in Bern. According to the doctors, he has a maximum of a year left to live in hellish torment. The patient fixes the date of his death in the clinic and prepares for it after talking with the doctors. But then, against the background of the fairy tale sunset from his room, he decides that he wants to be taken home and die, looking into the eyes of his daughter. This was our video of 8 interesting facts about Switzerland, so you don't miss our next videos. Subscribe with the bell and don't forget to leave a comment and like if you liked this video. I'll see you soon.